Numerous insiders claim that after years of criticism from his former security, the jury is finally seeing his receipts. The jurors turned white as they saw the tape, and Diddy was visibly trembling.
I could tell he was nervous, and he said it in the courtroom. Excuse me, Judge, I'm a little bit nervous.
And that was just the beginning. Prosecutors showed evidence that former Diddy bodyguard Gene Deal has been trying to reveal the bodyguard's ongoing warnings about Diddy for years, which created a tense atmosphere in the Manhattan federal courtroom. Additional testimony, which the judge had not sealed, contained startling information that would result in Diddy spending a considerable amount of time behind bars. As this well-known case develops, everyone's attention has been drawn to Diddy's alleged actions. Several pieces of evidence, according to courtroom reports, exactly match what Deal has been saying in interviews, which has jurors in a frenzy and Diddy looking scared. Deal, who has been handling Diddy's security for years, has been speaking out for years about bizarre behavior he claims to have witnessed. And now it seems that he might be the prosecution's hidden weapon. Throughout his time working for the bad boy boss, Deal has made it clear that he has no problem taking the stand and saying Diddy let all that money, power, respect go to his head. With all these federal charges and mounting evidence, what people used to dismiss as a former employee being salty now looks incredibly prophetic. Deal hasn't been joking about his willingness to testify against his former boss in recent interviews. Deal has made some serious allegations of abuse, especially involving Kim Porter, and he isn't backing down from speaking the truth, even if he has received hate mail accusing him of trying to kill a black guy. Diddy's ex-wife, who is also the mother of his children, claims that he witnessed Diddy touching Porter, including one bizarre incident in which she allegedly had to cut Diddy's wrist to escape from him outside of that intimate drama Deal's insider. Knowledge is increasingly coming to light as the trial goes on with more witnesses. Deal has made some serious allegations that Diddy is planning to drug addict the girls from Danny Kane and then sex them with his cronies. These assertions reinforce Cassie Ventura's statements and imply that there is still a lot more to come. They also line up with what former members like Aubrey O'Day have been stating. As the heartbreaking testimony keeps coming to light, perhaps confirming some of Deal's allegations, La Rosa, a journalist covering the trial for The Breakfast Club, described how Diddy's entire environment has changed.
You said, how does Diddy look?
Did he look stressed out?
He's definitely a lot thinner. Face is very pale. A lot of gray hair. Some black, but a lot of gray hair. You could tell he was nervous, and he said it in the courtroom. He had asked to go to the bathroom. He was like, "Excuse me, Judge, I'm a little bit nervous." But you could tell at one point in time I saw, and I was watching him very closely. I saw like his hand shaking a bit, but very involved. He's fighting for his life, literally. Like, I mean, he came with like a case of paperwork. He was on the tablet sitting next to Brian Steele. He's reading every juror profile as things are.
Description is entirely different from the boss level visual. Diddy has continuously displayed the man who once called himself a savage who gets anything I want as his entire enterprise falls apart. He looks pale, shaky, and feeble now. Prosecutors' real goal might be to gain inside information about Diddy's legal activities from Deal. Deal chastised Diddy in a recent interview for negotiating plea deals with prosecutors in defiance of his own lawyer's instructions.
But long story short is that he needs to take his counsel advice. Because if he think he's gonna get out of this from the federal government, he out his mind. They in the process of plea bargaining, trying to do a plea bargain session with him, and he's not taking it.
Deal broke down how this stubbornness probably explains why some of Diddy's legal team have bounced.
That's probably why one of the lawyers jumped off the case. Remember Benjamin Bradford, his first lawyer with the Cassie situation? He said, give her the 10 million and make this go away, brother. He ended up giving up 30 million.
This tea, if
real, it shows that Diddy has a history of ignoring wise legal advice that could have kept his situation from getting so bad. Prosecutors probably offered Diddy a settlement that would have cost him a lot of money, but at least allowed him to rest easy going forward. But because he won't accept reality, he could have to spend the rest of his life in jail. The trial, which started on May 5th, 2025 with jury selection, has already seen some ludicrous testimony that presents a concerning image of Diddy's purported move to Israel. In his 2016 testimony, Flores, an LAPD officer who worked security at the Intercontinental Hotel, described responding to a distress call after Comemies allegedly touched Cassie Ventura. Comemies allegedly tried to escape, but Flores claimed to have seen Ventura, who had purple eyes, trying to attempt to influence events by flinging money at Daniel. In 2012, Philip, a male review manager, disclosed equally unsettling details of his paid sex with Cassie Ventura. Philip asserted that Combs allegedly recorded and directed the entire scene. Additionally, Philip stated that Diddy threatened him with his driver's license and that he witnessed the mogul dragging Ventura by her hair. This testimony is all very consistent with Dill's long-standing statements, which makes his daddy might be killed if convicted on 5 major charges, which include sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation for prostitution. The whole point of the prosecution's case is to show that his awareness goes beyond specific instances to encompass the broader trends they are trying to prove in their racketeering case. He might be a devastating witness if he takes the stand, since his accounts seem more genuine. As the trial goes on and more witnesses come forward, Gene Deal's testimony has evolved from being dismissed as hate to perhaps being significant for someone who once physically protected Diddy. This is not just a case of impulsive, outrageous behavior, but a decades-long pattern of using his bad boy empire and allies to enable and conceal alleged illegal activities. Dill may now have an obligation to make sure he is held responsible for actions that were hidden within the Bad Boy Network Deal's revelations about Diddy's world behind riches, influence, and a well-manicured public image. Prosecutors are trying to show not just a few isolated occurrences, but an organized pattern that might support the racketeering allegation at the heart of the case. As someone who was in the inner ring of the Bad Boy Empire, Deal discovered. In one particularly startling interview, Deal made some ludicrous accusations about Diddy's mother, Janice Combs. However, his findings regarding the issue go beyond Diddy and include claims about a wider network, which includes family members that some traits might be inherited. Interview.
I spoke to a man, Mr. Brown, who used to go to the freak offs. And this guy lives in Georgia right now. And he told me that he was a stick-up kid back in the day. And one time he had robbed one of their spots, and he went back and he had got the money and gave them their money back and everything like that. And he knew Miss Combs and he knew about her and her freak offs and everything like that. We had always thought that she had a modeling agency, but it wasn't a modeling agency. It was more of a brothel that she ran for high-profile drug dealers and athletes.
Deal then directly connected these allegations to why he bounced from Diddy's employment.
You could tell by I could tell that Miss Combs at the time, and actually saw her like young guys. She came at me a couple of times back in my heyday, before the extra 75 pounds back then. And the reason I left Bad Boy wasn't only because of her advances, it was because I got tired of a lot of the bullshit with her and her son. So to hear that she ran a brothel, giving parties and sex parties, you understand? It's easy to say he get it from his...
In court, this testimony might help put the alleged criminal enterprise in a larger context that goes beyond Diddy's individual actions to include a deeper cultural pattern within his immediate circle. This context could be essential in persuading jurors that the behavior in question was systematic, rather than situational. Deal's insider knowledge also sheds light on how the notorious freak-offs as the prosecution refers to these drug-fueled sex parties, were purportedly organized and managed, although other witnesses have detailed these occasions as participants who may have been aware of the logistics and real motivations behind the scenes. According to one witness who said they were present at one of these gatherings at Diddy's Star Island estate, they seized phones and locked them up so that no one could record what transpired there.
We arrived, security guard patted us down. They put our phone in this little bubble case. So the bubble case is closed. They can't get unlocked until we walk out. So as we're in there, the only way of us taking any type of pictures is if we get in the photo booth. He has like a Team Love photo booth or whatever.
Witness described how they selectively granted entry to areas allegedly populated by the most insane people. There was an explosion of activity.
Advice. 9 times out of 10, they probably got him a good plea bargain. Yo, listen to me, we can give you 15 years. 10 or 15 years. You do that, you come out, you only have to do like 12, 13. Come out to a halfway house. You still could live some of your life out as a free man. You don't want to hear it.
Demonstrated his understanding of how federal prosecutions usually, and by pointing out that plea deals are frequently preferred by the government over protracted trials.
You got to realize that the trial is in May. This is March. They start the trial in May. The first 2 or 3 months before the trial, the lawyers are working behind scenes trying to plea bargain or try to work on some agreement before they get to the judge. The federal government do not want to go to court. 9 times out of 10, they want a plea bargain with you.
Regarding the movement of the federal government, this assessment concurs with legal experts. To coerce defendants into accepting plea deals, charges are often stacked to prevent more serious counts from being withdrawn. You accept the plea because you're aware that Diddy's unwillingness to enter a plea could lead to additional charges. Please, there is a problem with you if you don't believe that the white man was a plant. He continued by predicting that there might be additional charges because they haven't yet charged him with selling them enough drugs. You sell your government money and save them time, effort, and labor by agreeing.
We know of. If you don't believe that they're going to try to hit him with those guns in there, they saving all that for last. The drugs, the guns. They'll do another superseding indictment and add those to him if you don't take the plea. If you don't take the plea bargain to the sex trafficking or whatever, stuff like that, they're gonna say, okay, let's add the guns to it and let's add the drugs to it.
These disclosures show a thorough understanding of Diddy's present legal situation in addition to an awareness of his private behavior. This context could help judges understand the broader trend of the decisions and acts that led to the current charges. Dill's willingness to speak out, despite the animosity and potential career consequences, signal a break from the culture of silence that has historically protected powerful individuals, figures in the entertainment industry. His readiness to testify is a dramatic shift from the purported years-long code of silence that protected Diddy, and it may encourage other informed individuals to come out as well. The trial is still going on. Diddy's defense strategy is seriously jeopardized by Dill's potential evidence because, unlike many claims who had limited contact with Diddy, Dill spent years in his inner circle, was aware of his private affairs and behind-the-scenes operations. That few witnessed his partnership with law enforcement could provide crucial background details about particular incidents that help establish the pattern of behavior necessary to prove racketeering. Prosecutors who wish to build their case on systemic activity rather than isolated events may charge someone with insider dealing. Pure gold. Someone with the ability to connect seemingly unrelated incidents into a coherent narrative about organized crime. Additionally, when more witnesses testify and details become available, emphasizing Dill's years of voicing what he allegedly seen might eventually be verified in a legal setting. Activity when more witnesses speak and more evidence is dropped. The demise of an empire and the cost of silence. The evidence that was used in Shah Diddy Combs' trial is the result of Dale's years of voicing his accusations about what he saw, and it may now be accepted in a court of law. When Diddy's ex-girlfriend Cassandra Cassie Ventura filed charges against him on November 16, 2023, the wall of silence that had been protecting him started to come down. The procedure started long before prosecutors brought charges against him or the federal government raided his cribs. Rumors persisted in some groups for decades, although they hardly ever attracted much notice. Accused Combs of sexual assault, physical abuse, and sex trafficking throughout their 10-year relationship, which lasted from 2007 to 2018 in a 35-page lawsuit filed in federal court in Manhattan. The lawsuit altered the course of history forever, even though it was dismissed with prejudice and settled out of court the day after it was filed on undisclosed terms. Gene Deal's narrative about Diddy's reported bad choice to accept a $30 million settlement rather than the $10 million his counsel had recommended showed a pattern of bad choices that has continued into his current litigation strategy. More charges continued to come in by November 2024, the year following the agreement. Since the anniversary of Ventura's filing, at least 28 other lawsuits have been filed, alleging anything from rape and assault to sex trafficking. The volume and frequency of these claims expose decades of organized behavior. The circumstances significantly deteriorated on March 25, 2024, when federal officials raided Diddy's residences in Miami and Los Angeles as part of a sex trafficking investigation. Important evidence from these well-publicized raids included AR-15 style burners, large capacity magazines, and over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubrication products, which would eventually play a significant role in Diddy's indictment. It's 6 months after the raids on September 16, 2024, Diddy was arrested in New York City on federal charges of prostitution transportation, racketeering, and sex trafficking. Alleged drug-fueled sex parties in which victims were coerced into sexual acts by what the prosecution referred to as freak-offs were included in the indictment. Drugging and coercion, Diddy pleaded not guilty, but was denied bail due to his flight risk status. He has been held in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center since his arrest. On May 17, 2024, CNN released surveillance footage from 2016, which may have been the most damaging piece of evidence in Diddy's case because it showed him literally visual. Evidence of the violence Cassie Ventura had claimed in her lawsuit was provided by the film, which showed Diddy kicking, pushing, and grabbing her in a hotel hallway. Diddy openly apologized and took full responsibility for his behavior 2 days after the tape was published, which is unusual in a situation where he's otherwise maintained his innocence. It is impossible to overstate the impact of the video evidence. That was introduced during the current trial and gives jurors hard proof of at least one physical assault incident. During the trial, it transforms what would have been dismissed as a he said, she said situation into a documented instance of violence. Scandal Gandil has often criticized Diddy for his behavior and his willingness to speak candidly about what he reportedly witnessed while working for Diddy contrasts sharply with the hush that many of Diddy's close associates have upheld. Dale's frank account of his collaborations with Diddy provides crucial context for understanding how more than 63 civil lawsuits with allegations from more than 100 women and men were filed by April 2025, demonstrating the ongoing backlog of these cases. Attorney Tony Busby revealed more than 100 more cases in October 2024 that dealt with the activities of the accused criminal enterprise and how it managed to survive for so long. Assault claims, including 25 children and instances involving victims as young as 9 years old, were filed by February 2025. 8 additional cases, including accusations made by Kirk Burroughs and a male escort, were filed prior to the Gender Motivated Violence Act deadline. The uniformity throughout decades of accusations from persons who most likely had nothing in common lend much credence to the prosecution's assertion that these were not isolated instances, but rather were a part of a systematic pattern of activity. Dale's evidence might be used to create this kind of trend, connecting disparate occurrences into a rational explanation of organized crime that transcends its legal implications. Diddy's decision to come forward, despite the hate speech and potential Professional disapproval represents a departure from the culture of silence that allegedly protected him for decades, causing grave concerns about the case and perhaps motivating others with information take the initiative as well. Dale's understanding of Diddy's world provides a window into the workings of exploitation and power, and his readiness to testify is a substantial departure from the code of silence that has traditionally shielded powerful people in the entertainment sector. Among his claims about family members' involvement are given that the charges against Janice Combs indicate a broader cultural pattern rather than specific misconduct. Context may be crucial in persuading jurors that the behavior in question was systematic rather than situational. As more witnesses are called, the trial, which started with jury selection on May 5, 2025, is expected to last for around 8 weeks. Take the stand. Additional evidence is made public. The entire extent of the alleged criminal operation will be revealed, and Diddy is facing accusations that could land him in prison for the rest of his life if he is proven guilty. The stakes are very high since Diddy's well-planned empire's collapse serves as a sobering warning of the potential price of unchecked power and the importance of responsibility. His riches, influence, and carefully manicured public image shielded him from criticism for many years. But as more evidence accumulates and witnesses like Gene Dale come forward with their testimonies, that shield has evaporated, leaving him vulnerable to the full force of the legal system. This instance represents more than simply the demise of a single powerful individual, raises the possibility of a shift in how the entertainment industry addresses issues of power abuse and exploitation, because individuals like Dale are prepared to speak out despite the potential consequences, upending the culture of silence that has historically protected powerful individuals and signaling a period when it will be possible to ascertain the entire scope of Gene Dale's cooperation with authorities as the trial goes on and more details become known. But it's clear that his years of sharing what he allegedly witnessed have influenced a bigger narrative that prosecutors are now attempting to prove in court that Dale, who once gave Diddy physical protection, might now play a significant role in ensuring that he is held responsible for actions that have long been hidden behind a brilliantly crafted public image. The importance of the information is demonstrated by the judge's decision to allow certain testimony and evidence into the proceedings. Even though Judge Submanian hasn't formally revealed any real footage of Dale, the bodyguard's frequent warnings about Diddy's alleged behavior have taken on new weight as the criminal trial goes on and more witnesses testify and evidence is presented. After years of quiet from this music industry and the entertainment world at large, this trial provides an opportunity for closure and recognition for individuals who allegedly suffered at Diddy's hands. It's uncertain if Diddy will be found guilty, but it's unclear how many other people could join what the prosecution says was a multi-decade criminal operation. Serves as a powerful reminder that everyone is subject to accountability, including those who appear to be perfect. It may lend credence to Gene Dale's decision to tell the truth in spite of the consequences, as his warnings were long ignored or dismissed. One thing is certain as this judicial drama unfolds: the allegations, information, and testimony that have come to light have permanently altered Sean Diddy Combs' decades-long crafted image, regardless of the outcome of the trial. And doing so acts as a reminder by redefining Gene Dale's persistent voice, which was formerly ignored but is now perhaps essential. If you like this video, click the card to show your support for speaking up even when the truth is uncomfortable or undesirable. Shown on your screen for other movies like these, according to Gene Dale, Diddy's former security guard when he was AA's a free man, he used to perform crazy initiation rites. Conversation?
They would drink, party, be merry, and the men would have sex with each other.
Diddy, Universal Music Clique executives and other associates are allegedly part of a clique that allows Diddy to cultivate and kill performers like Biggie and Usher Bieber, according to the court docs involving Lil Rod. Diddy is currently jailed at the same jail where Epstein died. He used to groom and extort people through initiation procedures but these days they're much more diabolical. The hell on earth Diddy's House of Terrors and Rituals prison is like this. Regretfully, a number of little dubious secrets are glimmering in the first day of P. Diddy's death as a rapper and music producer. One of the most horrifying hidden events is his gang initiation ritual, which has been described as a night of constant homosexual intercourse by the initiates and an honoring of particular spirits at midnight during the full moon.
People who believe in the cult was looking for that moon on 12/12 at 12 a.m. And they were doing spiritual rituals.
How did he find out that this man is Gene Deal, a former celebrity bodyguard who has provided a great deal of security? For several years while working for Bad Boy Records, Gene Deal served as P. Diddy's personal security guard. He even appeared on the scene as Puffy's personal security the night rapper, the Notorious Big, was shot and killed. Considering what we know about Gene Deal, let's following his startling disclosure of Diddy's wild ritual, the well-known bodyguard went on to say that on the final day of the ritual, once the full moon and the changing of the seasons are mentioned, that's when people conversation
Paid homages to certain sacrifices and homages to certain idols. And on the third day, they would drink, party, be merry, and the men would have.
Deal is abruptly sharing all he knows about Sean Diddy. Combs' ritualistic actions, you heard. He explained that the men would exchange gifts, drink, get married, and spend time together before calling it a night on the third day.
If you don't believe it, look it up for yourself.
Straight from the comment section, this man had a lot to say about the practice. A baby or child is usually burned as a sacrifice to the god Moloch in a practice known as the cremation of care, which Gandil was talking about. Its roots can be found in Roman celebrations dedicated to the deity Satanius, and most elites perform it at the Bohemian Grove. In Emperor Caligula's favor, Diddy's former personal bodyguard is not the only individual discussing the extremely frightening lifestyle they experienced at Diddy's. Usher, a musician who was given custody of Diddy when he was 13 years old, claimed to have seen some quite odd things. Wow, it's more rooted in Satanism than what most people consider to be paganism. The 45-year-old artist opened up about his year-long connection with Diddy when he was just 13 years old during an appearance on Howard Stern's show in 2016.
Curious, I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle,
right?
And I saw it, and it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
And asked if he intended to be up until 4 a.m. Usher then recalled that famous singers like Biggie Smalls, Lil Kim, Craig Mack, Faith Evans, and Mary J. Blige were also there at the time, partying with Diddy and his group. Usher stated that he could and did stay up later than them in a different Rolling Stone interview from 2004. Usher revealed that P. Diddy exposed him to a new lifestyle, specifically a type of sex that is quite common in the industry. In February 2024, the musician and stepper told People's Magazine, "I can remember Outkast making their first records and being able to hear Rico Wade work on these songs, literally sleeping in this man's living room, being in the dungeon, just kind of being around and just trying to figure out what was going on." Additionally, he discussed the wild lifestyle he led at Diddy's Flavor Camp, where he was able to meet industry heavyweights at an early age and saw some of the best records ever made, determine who is who. The musician's reaction to Howard Stern's question about whether he would like to send his son to one of Diddy's taste camps in order to have the same experience as he did has a deeper significance. It gets insane at this point. As a young lad, he had established the necessary contacts in the sector and was having a great time.
His response revealed a deeper meaning.
Would you ever send your son to Puffy Camp? No, he is laughing, but you can see the pain in his eyes. It still haunts him, he said, but he is not about to make the same mistake of sending his offspring to experience what he did. These two statements sum up the majority of people's responses to this 2016 interview. It's not worth sacrificing your soul for silver and gold, the company as a whole declared. At the end, someone added him answering no to the question, which most people, to be honest, think was quite telling in another light sense. I'll shake my head if you tell me everything I need to know about Usher's ordeal. Lil Rod's conversion to Diddy's way of life appears to have been one of the most peculiar parts of his life. Since Diddy asked Lil Rod to be a part of the creative team behind his album, The Love, his life has never been the same. He endured the initiation process since it promised him a Grammy, despite the fact that it was a horrible, startling, and wicked experience.
I took a year off straight working on this album. That album is the Love album, Off the Grid by Diddy. And it's Grammy nominated right now as we speak. I should be celebrating, but the truth is I'm not.
Rod Jones Jr. is speaking up for the first time since he sued Sean Diddy Combs in February. The 38-year-old artist says in an interview with Rolling Stone that Combs drugged, intimidated, and sexually abused him during his time living and traveling with the rapper from September 2022 to November 2023. Every month, I struggle to figure out how I'm going to pay my bills because I'm broke and currently have no source of income. I'm defending justice because I think it's right. The producer referred to Diddy as a monster and stated that he feared for his life and safety. After producing 9 of the album's tracks, Lil Rod further alleges that Diddy failed to compensate him for his work. Watch this unsettling video of Diddy and teenage Justine Bieber explaining how their next 48 hours together were going to unfold before we dig into Lil Rod's allegations and lawsuit. How I believe is right for my life, and I'm being punished for that. I'm black ballad for sure, he said in the interview.
48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy, they're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing, we can't really disclose.
The most shocking development I remember was that a prisoner was unable to accept the terrible experiences he had while hanging out with Diddy in a Michigan nightclub in 1997. At the time, most people were concerned about what an adult was doing with a 14-year-old in an unknown location and doing unknown activities. Diddy filed a $100 million lawsuit against the rapper and won based on default judgment since he and his lawyer did not show up for the virtual court. The blowing case was started by Derek Cardellou Smith, an inmate in Michigan's Ernest C. Brooks Correctional Facility. Smith has a long history of contesting the legal system through civil actions. Derek Cardellou Smith is currently serving 75% of his term in prison. For in 1997, Cardell Smith was working at a restaurant in the Detroit area when he met rapper P. Diddy. The lawsuit claims that following a night of drinking and consuming marijuana, they had intercourse with a number of ladies. After the Hollywood magnate sexually abused him about 30 years ago, he was charged with criminal sexual conduct and kidnapping, but his imprisonment did not deter him from pursuing justice. Year-old Cardell Smith claims that he felt Diddy's hand touch him. After having another drink, I asked Sean if I needed anything else. He said, "Here's this one." Since I'd already sat down and had a glass of Jim Beam, I took it assuming it was another drink. I sat there feeling drowsy and about to pass out when Sean Comey said me, "I added a little something to it for you. I will get that from you anyway, one way or another." Then I passed out.
He made me a financial offer of $2.3 million to allow what happened to me to go away.
Start to heat up at this point. Following that, Cardell Smith provided information on the organization, including Diddy's name as it appears in the visiting log, which allowed him to claim that after the complaint was filed, PD offered to have it dismissed for $2.3 million. Derek Cardellou Smith stated in court during the August hearing that PD persuaded him to drop the $100 million lawsuit and accept an out-of-court settlement, saying, "You know how we get down." Cardellou then stated, "I disagree with the way you get down." In that respect, the court granted his request for a restraining order.
Restraining order was granted. I've signed it. And so we'll get that processed and back to you, and then you'll have to obviously serve that on the parties.
The mogul was in custody, but Did's attorney, Mark Agnello, refuted the judge's claim that his client was properly served with the lawsuit, saying his client hopes the judgment will be promptly dismissed. If their claims are upheld, the case will be remanded and Cardell Smith will have to prove his claims in court. The troubled music producer and rapper Diddy was arrested in a Manhattan hotel in New York City on Monday, just 24 hours after. The news of the $100 million judgment against him went viral. At the time of the arrest, it was unclear what charges were brought against him. Earlier this year, federal agents conducted simultaneous home raids on 2 of Diddy's residences in Miami and Los Angeles, signaling that the rapper would soon follow in R. Kelly's footsteps. A few hours before his arrest, the rapper was boldly strolling the streets of New York City, greeting and taking selfies with fans alongside his son Christian King Combs. According to sources, the rapper's arrest was scheduled for Tuesday morning, but due to some complications, Homeland Security surprised him in a Midtown hotel. This was because, according to TMZ, he was arrested on the basis of a sealed indictment by a federal grand jury. Based on a sealed indictment from the Southern District of New York, it has been confirmed that Diddy was placed in federal custody in Lower Manhattan, where he was staying, as part of the ongoing criminal investigation into alleged sex trafficking and other offenses, which led to the issuance and execution of search warrants at Diddy's homes in Beverly Hills, Miami, as shown in a courtroom sketch. Sean Diddy was charged with conspiracy to racketeer, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution, according to news reports. The rapper pleaded not guilty to all of the charges against him and tried to bond his way out of the case during his first court appearance following the indictment, where the charges were read and litigated in accordance with the 14-page federal grand jury indictment. Jail, but without any results.
Combs has been denied bail in connection with the sexual abuse and sex trafficking charges he faces. And as Les Trent reports, the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
The music producer reportedly spent his first night behind bars in one of the world's most notorious prisons, the name of which sounds like hell on earth, extremely realistic and evocative of the terrible living conditions described by Inside Edition news reporter.
By this federal lockup, there have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here.
Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnafalo, reportedly told the judge that the facility is cruel and a complete tragedy, so he is doing everything in his power to keep Diddy out of jail. Unfortunately, Diddy would surely find it difficult to adapt to his new surroundings, which include only a half-in mattress without a pillow, a plastic chair, and 3 to 5 fit spaces for movement. In fact, his lawyers were so eager to keep Diddy out of jail that they are offering his $48 million Miami Beach mansion and private jets as bail. The music mogul entered the courtroom for his bail appeal hearing with a calm and modest demeanor, but despite his assurances, the federal judge denied him bail once again, stating that Diddy is more likely to tamper with witnesses and/or evidence if he is freed. This is mainly because prosecutors accused Combs of witness tampering during yesterday's hearing, according to Edition. Diddy's lawyers offered to bar female visitors from his home if he was granted bail, except for his mother, sisters, and the mothers of his children. Diddy's staff tried to silence his ex-girlfriend, Cassie, and hotel staff about a beating that happened at a hotel in Los Angeles 8 years ago when the mogul flew to New York to await arrest 2 weeks ago on the advice of his lawyers. They said that the video of the assault, which showed Diddy kicking and stomping on singer Cassie at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016, disappeared from the hotel server before it was later obtained and published by CNN. They also claimed that bags of pink powder were discovered in Diddy's hotel room during his arrest. And although the powder was not tested, the prosecutor said it appeared to be authorities have interviewed more than 50 witnesses, collected dozens of cell phones, laptops, and hard drives, and have a video that they claim shows the coerced sex and horrible acts that Diddy is accused of planning. Drugs, including ecstasy, in similar bags that were previously found at Combs' homes during the home searches. It should be noted that 1,000 bottles of baby oils were also found in Diddy's home during the same raid, which is why some people think it would be difficult for Diddy to get out of this mess. Lil Rod Jones, February action taken against Diddy. Producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones claims in a 73-page court document that he has 100 hours of footage of PD and his associates and guests engaging in various illegal activities. including the distribution of unregistered firearms and the use of ecstasy drugs, because part of his job description required him to film PD at all times. The lawsuit alleges that the A-list rapper has engaged in sex trafficking and assaulted Lil Rod and other victims, including children. The rapper is depicted as a horrible abuser and monster in both the grand jury indictment and Lil Rod's charges, but Mark Agnifo, the music mogul's defense attorney, told the court, "This is different, these were consenting adults." In response to the federal grand jury indictments, claims that his client had engaged in sex trafficking and other charges related to sexual assault. NBC News reports that Agnifo warned that his client should never be mentioned in the same sentence as some of the nation's most notorious criminals, claiming that Combs is not a disgraced singer named R. Kelly, a sex cult leader named Keith Rainier, or an accused sex trafficker named Jeffrey Epstein. Even though the first trial seemed to have gone against them, Mark reminded the court that he had been in a romantic relationship with Diddy for 10 years, even during difficult times, to support his request for bail. It's interesting that he said, "This is evidence not of sex trafficking, but of being caught being unfaithful." Diddy's lawyer told reporters outside the courthouse that he still hopes bail will be granted so that his client won't go to hell. He claimed that before being apprehended in New York, the rapper had planned to turn himself in. Additionally, Mark Agnifo said, Mr. Combs, he went on to say that Diddy is not afraid and would fight to the end, and that nothing the government stated in their presentation today made anyone rethink why Diddy was arrested. "I'm a fighter who will fight this to the very end since he is innocent and traveled to New York to prove it," he said.
All right, happening right now, hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs is in a federal courtroom this morning. The indictment was just unsealed, revealing that Combs is facing charges of trafficking and racketeering.
The grand jury indictment against Sean Diddy Combs alleges 3 serious charges that center on the rapper's lifestyle from the 1990s, when the applause and attention were all on. To be honest, no one was surprised by Diddy's arrest. The beginning of 2024 was marked by a wave of the flag, announcing Diddy's tragic decline. After all, the number of lawsuits and assault-related claims against the rapper, such as his songs on Billboard Hot 100, were rapidly increasing, so it was only a matter of time until the federal government came for him. Like many others, music mogul has exploited, threatened, and blackmailed men and women in his vicinity to satisfy his irrational needs while also preserving his reputation. The grand jury indicted him on count 1 of racketeering conspiracy, stating that Combs used the resources and influence of the employees of the diverse business empire he led and controlled to create a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engage in and attempted to engage in a variety of crimes, including trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and other crimes, obstacle of the legal system. I knew the rapper would be gone for a long time because the federal grand jury has classified most of Diddy's businesses and enterprises as criminal enterprises, meaning that, according to the indictment, Diddy's pattern of abuse is based on coercing women and others around him into participating in elaborately planned performances with commercial workers, usually for his own pleasure. Sean Diddy Combs and other associates, both known and unknown, are members of a criminal organization called the Combs Enterprise, which the federal grand jury claims has been involved in or attempted to be involved in trafficking. P. Diddy is charged with trafficking on count 2 of the federal grand jury indictment, which states that between 2009 and 2018 in the Southern District of New York, where Diddy's enterprise is stationed, and elsewhere, Sean Diddy Combs engaged in interstate and foreign commerce in which he knowingly recruited, enticed, and transported a person tagged as Victim 1 to engage in commercial, with disregard for the fact that Victim 1 was engaging in commercial due to force fraud and other means. The indictment claims that Combs used interstate transportation for the purpose of, according to the indictment, satisfying Combs' personal desires, particularly those related to Combs' gratification, including through the exploitation of women, and the use of commercial workers. Sean Diddy Combs, the troubled music producer and A-list rapper, was charged by the grand jury with coercion on count 3 of the indictment, which details how between 2009 and 2024, the music mogul willfully caused the transportation of female victims and commercial workers in interstate and foreign commerce on multiple occasions with the intent that they engage in 2016 hotel corridor trafficking. The video, which CNN obtained, from an incident in March 2016 shows Diddy physically assaulting his ex-girlfriend, Cassie, from multiple angles. Cassie Ventura, whose real name is Cassandra Ventura, filed a federal lawsuit in November alleging that Combs had physically abused her throughout their relationship, punching, beating, kicking, and stomping her. The lawsuit was shockingly settled the day after it was filed, but Cassie Ventura courageously called Diddy out on New York's Adult Survivors Act, which allows victims of domestic abuse and assault to file a claim regardless of when it occurred. Since the act's expiration was rapidly approaching, it became clear that this was an opportunity to speak out about it. In the video, I talk about the trauma I've experienced and will be recovering from for the rest of my life. Cassie Ventura leaves a hotel room and goes to a bank of elevators. Diddy, wearing a towel around his waist, runs down a hallway after her, grabs her by the back of her neck, and throws her to the ground while holding his towel closed with one hand. The video shows that Combs finds a suitcase and purse on the floor near the elevators, then turns around and kicks her again while she lies still on the floor. There are roughly 4 seconds between the two kicks. After the video was made public, he briefly pulls Ventura by her sweatshirt toward a room before departing. Diddy humbly apologized online, saying he was in a bad place and he sought therapy and is now fully recovered. But just when Diddy thought it was over, another lawsuit was filed against him, and then another, and then they kept coming. As you may recall, on February 26, 2024, Lil Rod filed a lawsuit against his boss Diddy, claiming that while he was staying at the rapper's house, he was the target of unwanted advances from Diddy's associates at Diddy's direction. The 73-page court document also claims that the A-list rapper has been involved in trafficking and assaulting Lil Rod and other victims, including minors. What's even stranger is that the lawsuit named rapper 50 Cent's former girlfriend, who is the mother of one of his children. Daphne Lil Rod's lawsuit appears to be a huge, deep, and never-ending dungeon dug to bury rapper P. Diddy and everything he had ever worked for. In November 2023, shortly after Cassie's lawsuit, Joey Dickerson Neal filed a lawsuit alleging that Combs had assaulted her and secretly recorded the assault while she was a college student in 1991. The lawsuit also claims that P. Diddy regularly hosted trafficking parties with underage women and illegal drugs. According to the lawsuit, which also claims that Joy, one of the alleged employees, benefited financially from access to celebrities and dignitaries, including the British Royal Prince Harry, she reluctantly accepted Diddy's invitation to a dinner. Date on December 3rd, 1991, but that turned out to be the worst day of her life, according to Neal. The lawsuit claiming that Diddy had abused her, leaving her in a physical state that prevented her from standing or walking on her own, and that Diddy also recorded the abuse and showed it to his friends and associates. Although she reported the incident to the police in New York and New Jersey and spoke with prosecutors, she was told by her co-workers that they were afraid Combs would retaliate against them and that they would lose future business and music opportunities if they made a statement in support of the fascinating news reports that 3 further women have sued music entrepreneur Sean Diddy Combs in the Southern District of New York since November, alleging that Combs attacked them. 2 of the victims even stated that they were minors at the time of the abuse. Interesting times are ahead, buddy. If you like this video, click the card that shows on your screen for more.